Shalom again. Yeshua bless you. I thank you always for listening, to those that take the time. And I pray that Yahweh does a good work inside of your hearts and you will apply all that you hear. In Yeshua's name. As I was talking to Yah began speaking to me about who he is, even more about who he is. And as I've said before, it'll take an eternity to discover who he is and the mysteries of his love. But this great creator that spread the stars throughout the entire universe and created heavenly bodies so large in size that we couldn't even begin to comprehend it. And who put the sun in our galaxy to shine light upon the earth, and who made the earth and gave the seas its borders, and he created the trees and caused them to grow. The one who is so mighty and so powerful, to know who he is and to discover all about God, even a fraction of that will take an eternity. And then he created man from the dust of the earth. And he gave him understanding and gave him wisdom. And he put himself inside of man so that man was made in his image. A God so great and complex in all things. And then he gave us commandments that were rather simple. And that was to love Yahweh with all our heart, with all our strength, with all our mind, and to love one another as we love ourselves. When we think about the goodness of Yahweh and who he is, and the simplicity of our God, that just tells us a lot about how humble our God is. That he would give us so simple a command, to the point that even babes, little children, can understand it and keep it. This is why Yahushua said, "Let the little children come unto me." And we are to be like little children, humble and simple in all that we do, so that the Father is glorified in our meekness and in our humility. And this is something that Yah was impressing upon my heart, where a lot of us in the Christian community actually miss it. We're going to and fro, up and down. We want to be prophets and teachers and evangelists, and have ministries under our name. And we're going to reach the world with the truth and with the gospel, forgetting the most simple of things that he's commanded us to do. The simplicity of love. And what does that look like when it walks and when it talks? When we say love. When God gave us a command to love him and to love one another. If you go into the word, he says, "Be a father unto the fatherless. Take care of the orphan and the widow. Go and heal in Yahushua's name the brokenhearted. Heal the sick. Visit them who are in prison, bondage, and clothe them who are without clothing with the truth. They may receive righteousness from God and be clothed in garments of righteousness." Everything in the fullness of love. This is how simple our walk is. And we don't need to have a ministry over a name. We don't need to be called prophet or apostle, anything. If we understand that God requires from us great simplicity. And there was something that Yah was teaching me that I want to share with you. And that was when Yahushua was on the earth in the human form on the earth. He had chosen for himself the 12 disciples. And he taught them and he instructed them. He corrected them. He rebuked them. He encouraged them. He blessed them. He invested so much into them. And he walked with them and they walked with him. And you see, that represented his body. We are Yahushua's disciples today. And he is today teaching us and instructing us as we listen in prayer and as we go into his word to find out what his instructions are and what he wants from us. That represents his body, us as disciples. But you see, Yahushua's work was not just with his disciples. His work was also with those who were blind and were deaf and were mute and were lame and could not walk or were demon possessed. And if we can understand that his work was over there as well, that also represented his body. The part of his body that was broken, and the disciples represented the part of his body that were strong. And he gave us the perfect example as for what we are to do, why he sent out his disciples that he invested so much into. It's not for us to congregate and puff ourselves up with any form of pride, except this, that we go to those who are struggling to walk, the walk with Yahushua. They're lame. Those who are struggling to see what Yahushua wants them to see, who are blind spiritually. Those who are not hearing what Yahushua wants them to hear, who are deaf spiritually, are mute, afraid to speak the word of God, and under every kind of yoke and bondage, fetter and chain and shackle, possessed and oppressed by demons, to set them free in love. This is what we've been called to do. The simplicity of love. And if we make that our sole motivation in everything, then what else do we need? What else do we need? For Yahushua gave a simple command. He said, "This is my command. Love each other as I have loved you." That's in his word. Of course, he has given us his Torah. We're to keep his Torah, but all is fulfilled in love. So that's something Yah wanted me to share with you today. Start getting lower and lower and lower and lower and more humble before God. And never think that you can put a cap on how low you can go. If Yahweh wants to bring you lower, be willing to go lower, to be more humble, to be more simple. For it truly, when we are more humble, we're actually becoming more simple like unto a child. And then we can enter in. So we need to ask Yahweh to get rid of this pride that's within us and ask him to get rid of the pride that's within the body of Yahushua. Be simple and humble. That's my message to you, and I pray bless you as you listened. Shalom.